Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live to Be Well. I'm your host, Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin. All right, Al Rogers, I see you with my new surprise, my new intro. If you like the new intro, send some love and let us know that you liked it. All right, it's always good to have a change. Change is good, and we really appreciate that. I love that. Did you all see my colors and all that? And live to be well. Well, that's right. Live to be healthy, to be strong, to be wise, to be stronger. Listen, I want to say hello to everyone that's taken a few minutes to just join me tonight. Today is a great day for us all. Election. I voted. Did you get out and vote? I went to the polls. Thank you. I see you, my girl. I see you. All right. Send me some love if you like the intro, okay? And say hello to me. So I went out, we voted. Did you like that, Thomas? All right, all right. All right, Al Rogers, you're batting 100. You're batting 100. Keep sending us some love because, Brother Al Rogers puts a lot of love into everything he does. But I like to think Live to Be Well and Dr. Kim is one of his favorite, broadcasts. So, all right, we voted today. We're waiting for the results, okay? We're going to have some sticky residue coming down, all right? We're going to have some backlash, people who are not going to be honest. We're going to have a lot of manipulation going on. We're going to have a lot of gossiping going on, a lot of residue, a lot of negative residue. So, we want to talk about, why is it so hard for people to leave the sticky residue behind? All right, we're going to go to some of your questions. Al, can I pull up some of the answers that people gave? Why is it so hard for us to leave that behind? And it's important. All right, so we're going to read some of these answers, okay? Some of your statements. And thank you, as always, for being so responsive. Okay, Thomas Maycock. The reason why it's so hard is because every time you try to put the past behind you, some people keep bringing it up, and every chance they get when they see you. Then what makes it so bad, only family members might be there. Then what to question about the whole situation? I forgot to add, then they want to give you their opinion, even though it is really not needed. That is a good point. All right. People will bring up your past. People keep allowing your past. You've moved on, but they are stuck in the past. All right. Tanya Dykes, they don't realize there's more peace in being healed than being a victim. And I said, you better say that. Selena Jones Ross said, it is comfortable. You are right, my sister. It becomes very comfortable for people. All right. It's not too late to add your comment and we will read them. I want to talk about having a framework and a baseline. Okay, exactly. Yes. What is a framework? A framework is, especially in counseling, I established with people to look at the different variables of their vision. I have them do a vision board, I have them establish some groundwork and giving me some family origin. Family origin is crucial in clinical counseling because that helps me to develop a baseline. There's always a beginning, there's always an ending. So that gives me some type of understanding, where did the sticky residue come from? Was it molestation? Was it a sexual assault? Was it domestic violence that you saw as a child? Or did you go through it yourself? Gambling addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism, all types of addictions, no matter what it is. But it leaves a sticky residue because you will, like Thomas Maycock said, see someone, and it may be even your family, who want to keep you down. See, there's a lot of individuals who want to see you fail. That's why it's so important that you can't tell everybody your business. All right, we have another one over on co-signing bad behavior. Brother Ennis Woods, guilt and not repenting to God and apologizing, that's the key word, to those offended or hurt. Then turning from the sinful ways and habits. The Bible says, if my people are called by my name, would turn from their wicked ways and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Well, let's talk about some of the things that we're going to help you with tonight. Get a pen and paper and let's get in here. People are broken from the past, okay? And this is our new topic. We're talking about a new season. We're not waiting to January 1. We're talking about a new season. And my daughter was the one who brought this to me and says, Mom, let's talk about a new season. So people are broken from their past, companionship, friendship, and they develop a new framework, a baseline, and a starting point of assessment. So the first thing we have to do is learn how to accept your own past, whether someone else does not, Thomas. If you accept your past and you've given it over to God and you recognize that, where we are and what we're doing in my life is good, I say to you, move on. But Dr. Kim, people keep me here. People don't understand what I've been through. They don't understand why the residue is there. Have you ever had, some crazy glue? Okay? Have you ever got it on your hands and you try to peel it off, but there's still going to be some residue for a couple of days. I know it has been with me. And so it's the same thing. This is some crazy glue. People who are broken, people who are devastated, people are going through problems. The holidays are upon us. Some people say, so what? It's the happiest time of the year. Why? I'm not happy. It's a bad time for me. It's a sad time for me. But we have to understand the residue that people carry. So, number one, I have to learn to accept my past and my mistakes. That's number one in the framework, the frame that we're building here tonight. All right. The second part of that is that my past helps me to bridge to my future. It's a bridge. It gives me a connection. All right. Learn and accept your past and your past mistakes. All right. Number two, what type of decisions are you making that is causing you to have the sticky residue? Are you making healthy decisions, good decisions in your life? So if I'm making healthy decisions, no one is perfect but God. But come on, folk. We have to start making good decisions in our lives. And we have to recognize that there are consequences to our good decisions. It can be good consequences or bad. I want to make good decisions so that I can have good, healthy outcomes. So, number two, decision making. What type of decisions am I making? And remember, in building the framework, I can be destructive or I can be proactive. I can be destructive and proactive. Now, if I'm destructive, I'm going to have the crazy glue. It's going to stick to me, and that crazy glue is going to be here for some time. All right. Number three, I've got to learn how to not be defensive. When people come to you to help you build a new framework from your past molestation, from being raped, from being abused, from grief, you have to understand that you cannot be defensive. Now, remember, when you go to people and you try to listen and help them, you have to understand you've got to be gentle because you don't know what the residue is and what they have gone through. First thing people want to say, well, see, you should have never done what you did. If you hadn't been in the wrong place at the wrong time, you don't even know my story. You don't know my story. How did I get the residue? But like Micha said, how do we let the sticky residue go? First of all, I got to understand where did it come from in the first place. Number four, I have to learn how to listen and change my behavior. I have to learn how to listen to change my behavior. So, number one, I have to accept my past mistakes. I have to learn how to accept that. I got to stop, putting it off on other people. This was my mistake. I own it. I was wrong. Then I have to understand that everything has a beginning and an ending. It's how you want to end your story. How do you want to live your life? Number two, decision making. How am I making decisions to be proactive or destructive? Number three, I am going to not be defensive when people talk to me. Stop being defensive. Stop being angry. Stop being, if this had not happened to me, I wouldn't feel like this. You don't know what it feels like to go through this. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I'm here to listen and to here to help you. Number 5, challenges. And remember, I've talked about this. It's not, then let me say this, is not the challenge, is not the disappointment, it's how we handle our problem. It's not how much money you have, it's how well you manage what you have. So we have to look at situations from the perspective to have a positive outcome. If you're just joining me, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin, and welcome to Live to Be Well. We're talking about how do I stop holding on? How do I let go of the sticky residue in my life from my past? The past hurts. Don't let the sticky residue stop you. Learn from the sticky residue. Learn from the crazy glue and what the purpose of the glue is, but don't let it keep you to a place where you can't pull it apart so that you can move forward. All right. Stay away from the crazy glue. If you don't know how to use it, then don't abuse it. All right. Don't abuse it. Okay. All right. Let's move on before I bring ML6 in. Now, in developing a framework and a baseline is a starting point that we use in counseling, psychology, therapeutic process. I have to understand what you are dealing with. I take an assessment. So that baseline can average anywhere from 1 to 100, but I have the numbers to help me balance things out. Now, after I look at those 5 areas, I'm going to stop dismissing my problem. Stop dismissing it. Don't put it on someone else. Don't put it on, well, if it hadn't been for slavery, if it hadn't been for the white man, if it hadn't been for the black man, if it hadn't been for the, you know what? Listen, it's always going to be somebody who could be your scapegoat. But we are our own worst enemy because we are so critical. So stop dismissing the problem and find a solution to the problem. So don't tell me, what changes we need to make in America. Okay. And let me say this. If you did not get out and vote, don't you dare sit back and complain about the structure and the framework of our country because you had an opportunity to put, well, it don't matter. They're going to put in office who they want. No, God has the last say so. God knows what he's doing. So I hope every one of us got out and voted today. All right. So stop dismissing the problem. Stop doing self blame or false blame or allowing yourself to blame someone else for what has happened. Own your mistake. All right. Set higher expectations for yourself. That will let you get away from the crazy glue and the people who are trying to keep you stuck to something that's negative. Set higher expectations for yourself. You know, my daughter Micha told me about something. She writes it on a board and she puts things on a board and said, these are the things I'm achieving, I'm working towards, and I'm going to do that. All right. I have that same thing in my calendar book. I put things that I'm going to achieve and work on and do. All right. So set higher expectations. But let me say this, there are times in your season that you have to let go of the negative people and the weight that will weigh you down. People who do not have your same vision, who does not believe in your God and does not communicate in a way that's going to bring you hope and healing. You have to separate from that, or that glue is going to keep you there, and you look up 5, 10, 15 years later, you're still stuck to the crazy glue. And what happened? Where did time go? Because you're still stuck and you're not moving. You're not making any progress to get away from the sticky bad behaviors and the people weighing you down. Manipulation. Manipulation. See, when you are in the situation of the residue, there are people, and even, come on now, ourselves, we will tend to try to manipulate the situation in order to get out of the situation. That's another example of how you stay stuck to the residue, to the sticky residue. All right. I want to, invite ML6 in now. We could bring her in because I want to talk to you about some things. Hey, ML6, that's my baby. Can we hear you? Are you there? Let's see.
Hi.
Hello, ML6. What's going on? Look at our new bright lights and everything. That looks like you, ML6. Okay, did you have something to do with all this new
No,
image that we have? Well,
no.
it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So Micah, I talked about some crazy glue and how the sticky residue. Let's talk about that. Give me some feedback on this residue and how people stay stuck in it.
One thing about crazy glue, any type of nail glue, if you don't have it positioned right, or if you use too much, it's going to spill over,
Okay.
and possibly going to have your fingers sticking together, have your fingers sticking to a piece of tissue, have your fingers sticking to a towel. You have to know the right amount to use on the right thing. When
Mm-hmm.
you don't, in this case, the overflow is really not what you want. You want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure you stay on task so that it can be effective. When you use too much, it's not going to be as effective because you're going to be so worried about cleaning up the messes on the side that you forget that you're really trying to glue something else. And that thing can end up being crooked. That thing can end up being upside down. It could be end up being a mess. So when you're using something like crazy glue, nail glue, any type of glue, you have to be very, very mindful and specific, and you have to be focused on exactly the area in which you're trying to glue together.
I like that. I like that. You know what? That's happened to me. And I'm using the wrong glue sometimes. When I do my nails, it's just crazy. You don't use crazy glue for things like that. You
No.
know, no. So again, the residue that people hold on to, and it's so hard to let go because it's easier for me to live in my past. That's what I know. And
Right.
then, Daddy would always say, it's hard for people to take a risk. You got
Yeah.
to be willing to take a risk in order to let go of the sticky residue. You've got, because you don't know what's going to be on the other side. So that's where risk taking comes in. Do you agree with that? Risk taking. Can you hear me? You're
Say
on
that,
mute.
say that one more time.
I said you have to recognize the impact. Daddy would say you got to take a risk. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't want to take a risk because they don't know what's on the other side. So they stay on this side because it's comfortable, it's what I know. And I don't know what's on the other side of that mountain. So do I take a risk or do I stay in the residue of what I know?
I think for a lot of people, change, risk, and things of that nature, they are scary, and they're supposed to be scary.
Right.
But it's scary in a good way because you never know what's on the other side of what you try to do. And I don't ever want to be in this life thinking about something that I should have, could have, or would have done. When at least I would know if I tried something and it didn't work, I tried it and I know it, than having that unsettling feeling of, man, I wish I would have, or man, I wish I.
Could have,
It
would
was
have.
one of those things when I went skydiving. I was
Oh,
like, okay, for 10 years, for 9 years, I talked about skydiving, skydiving, skydiving. Well, maybe I'm sorry, 8, because it was a year after I wanted to do it for my 1 year anniversary. And I wanted to do it. And at times I used to be like, am I just talking or am I really trying to do this? And then it got to a point where I was like, I really want to do it. I want to know if I like the experience or if I don't. And I wanted to say, yeah, I did it, but it wasn't for me type thing. And here's the thing, I'm so glad that I did it because I felt like if I could jump out of a plane at 13,000 feet, it was, in the middle of Santa Barbara. I could pretty much do just about anything. Taking leaps of faith really can't be that hard. I'm literally jumping out of a plane next to some man I don't know, and I'm trusting him to get me down and to follow his instructions. And oftentimes, we'll trust a stranger more than we trust ourselves. We trust a stranger more than we trust our spiritual advisors, and this and the third. And I get all of that. You have your reasons for doing different things. But for me, if I would have never taken that risk,
Take the risk.
Tell a lot of people that I was doing it because it goes back to that. Sometimes you can't tell people everything that you're doing because not everybody has your best interest at heart when you're sharing the things that you want to do in your future. That's also important because a lot of times people will project their fears onto you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know that it's high. Obviously, I know that it's scary. Obviously, I know that's not something really we as a people do. Obviously, I've counted all of these things, but this is what I'm choosing to do because I'd rather say that I did it and didn't like it than to have to wonder about it for the rest of my life. And here's the thing, I did it and I actually enjoyed it. And there's a possibility, a very strong possibility, that I'll do it again in a year or two because it was something that I enjoyed to do. I have this daredevil type thing in me. And sometimes it needs to be fed. So I fed it. But I would have never known. It would have always been a wonder if I didn't take the risk and take the leap. And so for any of you that are out there that are thinking about doing something, thinking about going someplace, positive things, of course, nothing like negative, but you're thinking about positive things for yourself, go ahead and do it. If you prayed about that thing and God is giving you complete clearance on it, you will be a fool not to go forth and do that. Sometimes when you do things, you have to just go for it. Boom, you have to deal with the consequences. But if you've prayed about this thing and God is giving you complete clearance on it, you don't gotta go to your homegirl. You don't gotta go to your mama and them. You don't got to. God is giving you the clearance, which means that He's going to take care of you and He is going to help you land on your feet. And all the anxiety that you have, all the fears that you have, turn fear into faith and watch how far you will go. That is something that I have, as my mom was talking about, on my bathroom wall. I have affirmations for myself. It's not a big board. It's not. It's just affirmations, things that I say to myself every single time I go into the bathroom. No matter how long I'm in there, how short I'm in there, I say them to myself as reminders to myself about myself, what God has told me, where God has placed me, so that I have this to say, even when it doesn't look like it's right, even when it doesn't feel like it's right, even when my account is like on some other, even when I get a bill that's like, I was not expecting this. I go to my wall and I look at what I wrote and what I believe about myself and what I believe God to do. And I just step away from it. I just step away from it and I literally watch God work. The human side of me is like, yeah, I gotta worry about this. And we're going to worry. We're not gonna be lie to you on here. You're gonna worry because you're human. Your responsibility though is to just be honest about that, even with God. Listen, God, you know I'm an overthinker, you know I'm a worrier. You know that sometimes I will carry something over into the new month, the new week, the new year when I really shouldn't. I really need you to give me clarity and guidance on how to walk into this new season, into this new life, into these new decisions, because I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'm scared. And it's easier for a lot of people to function in dysfunction because that's just what you're programmed to do.
That's
But
it.
you have to function in something that's amazing and it looks good and it's for you. Sometimes you're just kind of like, you're hesitant because you're so used to dysfunctional things. You better walk in freedom. You better walk in the functionality of what God has given you and what He's told you. You can't take everything and everybody with you to the next phase and to the next level. You can't. It's just not possible. You may want to, but I promise you, you can't. And you even have to go with that to God. Like, God, who can I take with me? Who's allowed to come with me on this part of the journey? And here's the thing, He may not tell you directly, but you may start noticing friendships falling apart, certain situations kind of going to the wayside. And we as humans, because it's like me, mine, we go to try to reconnect and try to get that thing back in our lives and try to like make it. Nah, God literally was removing that thing. And what you go do? You go and bring it back into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Back into your life for what? Because it was comfortable? No, it was dysfunctional. It was never okay. You can be in a thing, walk away from a thing, and be at peace. It's okay to miss something and miss somebody, but understand that they don't have a place in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Missing people does not mean that they're supposed to be there. You ask God to elevate you. That means that He's going to elevate you in all areas of your life. And you
Mhm.
have to be careful. You have to, going back to the glue, you have to be careful about what it is you spill on other things, because some of those things are not supposed to stick to come with you to the other side.
All right. I receive and I hear my daughter. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says in ML6, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things, not some, but all things become new. That's the word right there. And as a mental health therapist, I say to you that you've got to have a understanding of your spiritual health, your physical health, your psychological health, your personal health, and social health. You've got to bring this together in a way that's going to bring you complete balance. And Micah was talking about relationships, but let's talk about health. You have to look and be mindful of what you're pouring into the temple of the Holy Spirit and how you are exercising. Are you walking? Are you comfortable just not taking a risk to say, I'm going to lose this weight? It's going to hurt for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but I will see the results. What about finances? Taking a risk to start saving. Stop complaining that you don't have enough money to do A, B, C, and D. Are you faithful to God in your tithes and offering? Are you a cheerful giver? Do you bless others? But do you understand the principle of saving and rebuilding your finances? Let's talk about how you engage on your job. What about education? A lot of individuals do not want to take the risk of going back to school to change your outcome. I've seen people leave the big three, Chrysler, GM, and Ford, and go on to nursing school, and now they're nurses. They've gotten their masters, they've gotten their law degrees, because you can sit back and say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next year. And you look up, it's 5, 10, 15 years have passed, and you are still in that same residue. My daughter is right. You cannot take everyone with you into that other side of that mountain. You cannot tell everyone what you are about to do. You cannot share everything. And I got a witness out there, you know. But what you can do is pray for others. And whether they see your expectations that you set on yourself, you know, I remember years ago, when I started my practice, people said, really? A Christian counseling clinic? People are not going to come to you. You got to take Christian out of your business. See, the Lord said, take a risk on me. Put Christ in your name. And so I told people, I said, I'm not changing the name. It will be called Kim Logan Communication Christian Family Counseling Clinic, because I wanted people to know that it was going to be about Christ. This is last stop. You've tried it your way. Let's try it God's way. And let me tell you this, people who told me to take that out of my name, their businesses went under. 42 years later, this business is stronger than ever because I was willing to take that risk with God. Not man, but with God. Okay? And being able to trust him and understand what he had for me. So there are going to be people who see your spiritual health not the way you see it, but you about to take some leaps because you want to remove the residue that you've been carrying. See, God is the key, but God said faith is dead without works. You got to start struggling. You got to start stroking, start rowing through that residue. You got to get through that garbage. Come on. And then you've got to have a mindset of psychological well-being, that my expectations for my future is going to give me hope and healing. I'm going to jump out that plane. It may not be an actual plane for you, but it may be I'm going to take one class this semester. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start saving $1 a day. All my loose change, I'm going to put in a jar, and I'm not going to touch it unless there's an emergency. but I'm going to let it, and I'm going to open an account and allow it to grow. And then my social health. Let me tell you about that residue again, that glue, my social health. You cannot associate with everybody. You just can't do it because there are a lot of people, and I've learned this being a mental health specialist, that a lot of my patients, you are guilty by association. You are guilty. And so you've got to decide where you see yourself. And I remember saying this last week, what is going to be the best version of you coming out on the other side? And if you stay where the residue is, will you be the best version of yourself? No, because you already know what that looks like. And you know the residue is holding you down, and the behavior has not changed. It's just like you're looking for a different outcome, but you're doing the same thing. That's insanity. So now I get on the other side, and everybody can't come with me on the other side because my social well being and the things I used to do and the things I used to watch, drink. A man told me last night, he said, I stopped associating with some of the people who I was getting high with. I don't even have a desire to drink or smoke or get high. I don't have a desire to do those things because, it is what it is. All right. Be every day. What you say, what if it's a close family? Well, like Thomas Maycock said, a lot of your attacks come from family, and it could be envy, jealousy. It could be that they see you moving on and they are not where where you're going. Let me tell you something. I remember when I was running for Detroit City Council, and I was in the mall walking with my husband, and I saw some of my classmates from middle school. They walked right past me. Now, we've seen each other at different things, but all of them walked past me. One young lady came back,
Mm.
and I said, Hi, do you remember me? She said, Yes, you're Kim Logan. And she said, I see you on television. I see you in the Detroit News, the Chronicle. I see you, on different aspects with all different things going on in the city, and you're running for Detroit City Council. They said they're not voting for you. All right. And I said, Why? And they said, You are a reminder of what they could have become, the residue. When they were doing things in their lives, I wasn't doing those things. Because as Micah said, I had the affirmation to be something in my life. I always had an aspiration to be an entrepreneur. But if I didn't take the risk, and matter of fact, I got fired from my job on the 89th day. And then I was like, what am I going to do? And then I went and the Lord opened a door for another job. But I was in the grocery store, didn't have a little bit of nothing. And I was standing there next to Councilman Nicholas Hood Sr., who's passed on, the late councilman, awesome man of God. And I said to him, You don't want the, iceberg lettuce. You want romaine lettuce. He said, Really? He said, You look awful nice. My mother always said, Take a risk and look nice before you leave the house. Always care about your appearance because you don't know who you're going to run into or meet. And so he said, You know who I am? I said, Yes, sir. He said, Tell me about yourself. A lot of deals are made in the grocery store, on the golf course, you in the parking lots. Many business deals are going down based on just meeting somebody, you don't know. And he said, Come on down to my office. I want you to apply for a grant. That grant led to me starting a program teaching people how to sign God's hands of praise. And that risk, going down to his office, speaking to him and the late Mayor Coleman A. Young, sitting down with the late Irma Henderson, the late Marianne Mahaffey, sitting down there waiting for hours to meet with those people so that they would know my vision, taking a risk. I made a decision. I did. I can't speak for anyone else. I was going to open my business because that's what God told me to do. And 42 years later, I've worked for no one but God and Kim Logan Communications. You talking about taking a risk? And I had a huge responsibility on me. And I had to make sure that I knew what I was doing. So I had to let go of all the naysayers, family members, anybody who said, you need to get a job. You need to go work for the man. And I'm not saying anything is wrong working for whomever. We need to be able to have people to work for different companies and corporations. I get that. But my mother told me a long time ago, if it's going to be, then it's up to me. Then I've got to make it happen and taking that risk to do it. So I took the risk, not knowing, and then writing grants, going to grant writing classes, going to the Detroit Urban League, going to the Thursday luncheon with Senator Ed Vaughn, sitting down with Congresswoman Kilpatrick, sitting down with James Slaughter, sitting down with people who was willing to help me take a risk. But they told me now, you're going to have to let go of the residue because you're going to be on the other side of the mountain now. You're going to be with other people. And I'm not saying politics and criminals and crooks. I'm talking about people who really wanted my best interest and to see my vision come to fruition. And I remember when I sat in the late Mayor Coleman A. Young's office, and he said to me, so you're going to start a communication business, teaching people how to communicate and articulate and formulate their words. I said, yes, sir. And you have a Christian counseling business. And he said, you know what? If you stay in Detroit with your business, I will give you a contract with the city. And he kept his word, and I kept mine. And my business has been in Detroit for 42 years. I've never moved my company out of Detroit. Even when we had a fire, and it'll be 10 years, Micha, 10 years next year that we lost everything in that fire. But we took a risk and we had to start all over again with nothing. I could have walked away from my business and the residue of that fire, but I had to start all over again with one ink pen, one sheet of paper, one paper clip. Take that step and say, I'm moving into something new and better for my life. It might be comfortable to be in that relationship. That's what you know. It might not be healthy for you, because you're going somewhere else. You're doing something else in your life. You may have to get your spouse to come to counseling in order to have a better marriage, a better relationship. Your friends want to smoke marijuana and you're trying to clear your mind so that you can do something else. You want to do gang banging and your friends say, man, you got to leave. I'm not riding with you because you're carrying guns, man. I don't want to go down like this. We just heard, what happened. Micha, come back in for a minute. We had of God stepping out on faith. It truly was, Miss V, every day. It was a step of faith for me to start this business. We saw what happened with, the rapper Takeoff, and the situation with that. How is that impacting the music world today, Micha?
A lot of people are affected because the Migos were such they're super influential in rap culture. But more than anything, it's just he wasn't doing anything bad. He wasn't, he was out with his uncle who was also his group mate. And they were at a private birthday party and words were exchanged. And it's just unfortunate because people don't know how to just like fight no more. Like they don't know how to throw they do and just go for it. You gotta like go and grab a gun and a straight bullet hit him. And so it's heartbreaking because it's just one of those things like, well, why? Like for real, why? And I think that's where a lot of people are left at. Why? Why him? He was very unproblematic. And he was just at the point where he was actually getting his real shine as an individual rapper. Even though he was with the group, a lot of people only, went towards Quavo or went towards Offset. And then when Offset took a step away, it was just Quavo and Takeoff. And it's like Takeoff was finally being heard for real. On this, they just released the album like 2-3 weeks ago. And it would have, and it's still probably gonna go number one, but I can only imagine the energy from the tour and all the things that would have happened. And you think to yourself, like he was 28, he wasn't bothering nobody. He wasn't doing anything. It was a stray bullet that literally caught him. And because it was exchanged, somebody walked up on him from the video I saw, walked up on him and they were trying to take his chain. And like it just went left. Like it was just it's just really it's heartbreaking because at the end of the day, take away him being a celebrity, that's somebody's son, brother, uncle, cousin. And yes, we know people die every day, but that's just like if one of, I don't know, let's say Freddie Jackson passed away, you would feel that. So if you have a child out there that's legit mourning the loss of Takeoff, please don't disrespect that. Because at the end of the day, these music artists and these entertainers, they become a part of your life, they become a part of your world in whatever shape or form, in a healthy way. And I remember when Luther died, I mourned Luther. Like, I was very devastated. Like, it was a Friday night. I remember leaving work. I called my mom, and that entire weekend, I told people don't bother me. I think I watched the Luther live at Wembley, and when he was in London, one VHS tape on repeat all weekend. I matched it with the CD because I had the CD, and I just listened. And I would, so it's just like don't disrespect your child or your family member or your students if your teachers. Like talk to them about it. Ask them where their head is about it. And it goes to show, like, yes, we have a problem in this country with guns being as accessible as they are. We have a problem with them being dropped off in our communities. And it's beyond black on black. It's white on white, it's Mexican on Mexican, it's Asian on Asian. We can only speak about it because it's within our community. We are black people. There needs to be more conversation. There needs to be more healing. These men need to really get out here and really understand who they are and feel love and stop feeling like you a punk if you get a hug from somebody. If you are a man and you are listening to me and you have a male child, hug that baby. Hug that child. Let them know that it doesn't make them weak. It doesn't make them less than. It doesn't make them gay. And if they are gay, try to understand it, welcome and accept them. It is too much out here in the streets for them to be feeling the heavy weight in their homes. Please, as a black woman, I'm tired of raising black men. This is why I choose not to date because I'm tired of raising these broken men who are stuck in their childhood. So if you are a parent to a young man, please love on that young man. Please allow them to share their feelings. Stop calling them a punk when they cry. Welcome their emotions. Let them cry. Let them feel it. Let them get strength in their release so that they can stop going to the streets and picking up these guns and feeling like that's making them a man. No, that's not making you a man. That's making you a punk.
Mm.
That's my TED talk for today.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because if you're, I felt like that when we lost Prince and Whitney.
Equivalent that to your child, your student, your nephew that listen to the Migos or whatever. I mean, I have adult friends that are mourning that because they were so influential in my 30s. So just have conversations. Don't dismiss. Oftentimes, as a parent, you dismiss certain things because you're busy, you're doing this. You're like, yo, my only responsibility is to keep the lights on and keep the refrigerator full. Your responsibility also is to take care of your child's emotional state. But you can't do that if you're not in control of yours. So if you're a parent and you are lacking emotional intelligence, what I'm finding there are a lot of adults that lack emotional intelligence. Get in a course. Find you some help. Emotional intelligence is available unto you so that you can be, if you didn't receive it from your parents, get it yourself so that you can be the best parent that you can be and be open and honest with your child. Listen, baby girl, listen, baby boy, I'm learning this thing too. We learning this thing together. Please be patient with me as I'm patient with you. Because here's what I don't want. I don't want you to figure this out in the streets. We're going to figure this out together at home.
And that is what is so important, and that's what we're missing. That's my baby clinical psychologist right there. I tell you, she's multi-talented, but she keeps it real. And being her mother, I have to also listen to the things she says to me. I remember that statement I told you. When I called her one day, she said, now you're going to listen or you're going to talk because I need you to listen right now. See, that's how you get through the residue. We've got to be willing to understand what we're going through, our children, our family members. And even if it's a family member that's attacking you, you can still get past and through the residue by number one, by accepting your own past mistakes. And if you accept it, they can't use it against you anymore. Satan cannot use that against you anymore. Then you have to be able to make the right decisions in your life. Decision making, number two. Number three, don't be defensive. Learn to listen and change the behavior. Learn to listen. Don't be defensive. Remember, challenges and disappointments will come, but it is how you handle the challenges and disappointments. Stop dismissing the problem and let's confront the problem in a healthy manner. Set high expectations. Set high expectations for yourself. It's very important that you set them because if you don't, no one else will. And Dr. Kemp is steadily setting high expectations, writing new books. What's the next TV series? What's the next my movie? Producing my movie, right, Al? Micah, we're doing this. Mental health films. And then you've got to, be willing to take risks. You got to take healthy, good risks. One thing in my book, Attitude Adjustment, it talks about on page 52. You have to recognize the problem, take action, and visualize the change. That's how you can get past the crazy glue and the sticky residue. Then I'm going to take a daily inventory, those affirmations that ML6 talked about. I'm going to incorporate balance. I am going to live a victorious life, and I'm going to be delivered by God from this sticky residue from my past. Let your past be a bridge to your hope and healing, but don't allow your past to be the past that keeps you from seeing what's in your future from God. God created you in his image. There's great things ahead for you in your life, but you've got to be willing to take the necessary steps. God said if you take one, he'll do the rest. He will do it with you. You're not alone. And there are people like me, mental health specialists, that will help you work through the residue in your life. Listen, ML6, I want to thank you for being with us. We'll be off next week and we'll be back the week of Thanksgiving to give thanks and what we're thankful for. And again, I want to let you know that this is a new season that we're walking in hope and healing. I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin,
And I'm Micah ML6 Logan.
and we want to say live to
To
be well. Good night and God bless.
bye everybody.